So, you're back for more, kitties? Well, great. Today, we're visiting across the pond now to visit our friends in England. Today, they bring us a special double feature, and it ain't Rocky Horror this time. Tonight's special event shall be Tale from the Crypt and Vault of Horror. Shall we begin?
Now, do you know anything about these kind of things per se?
Not too much, I'm afraid.
Well, let me just explain it briefly. You see, when the Tales from the Crypt comics were getting very popular around the 50s and stuff like that, there were also some sort of kind of knockoff brands in, say, European countries like France, Germany, but more importantly, the United Kingdom also.
Yes.
And that's where we come with these films. Now let's talk about the first one that came out, Tales from the Crypt, that came out in 1972.
Alright.
Now this is interesting because with European films, they like to include a lot of history from the continent pretty much a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And we start off literally in a Gothic castle where Protestants would hide from Queen Mary Bloody Mary.
Right.
Mary the First. So, got a classic setup, bunch of strangers in a room with a creepy man who's going to tell them all the story. Now let's start with the first story of this, and all throughout the house. The one with the killer Santa Claus of all things.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, I think I saw them do this story before, Tales from the Crypt or something like that. It's about a lady, she kills her husband or something, and then there's serial killer Santa Claus that comes after her. And I like the way they sort of ratchet up the scene because she can't call the cops because she herself literally just murdered her husband who's still out in the front yard.
Well, technically he was at the bottom of the stairs.
Oh yes, but in some versions he is, some versions not, but in this one he is the bottom of the stairs. So you know she can't call the cops, she can't get help, she has to deal with this psycho herself pretty much. Now I'm not saying it's my favorite story with the killer Santa, but it's okay.
Yeah, it was okay. I just had like a lot of questions that was going on.
Yeah, like, how did he get into the house? Or what is this person? What's he doing?
And I know, like, we know the thing that he eventually killed her, but what happened to her daughter? What happened to her?
Yeah, I never know. Like, I feel like she was kind of thrown in at the last minute kind of thing.
Yeah, I know.
But besides that, there's that. Now let's get on to the next story. And that would be The Reflection of Death.
Alright.
Now basically the setup is a guy had a fight with his girlfriend, he goes to a car, he accidentally crashes, he comes back.
I thought they both crashed.
Maybe it was both of them, but I definitely remember that when the guy does come back, he's sort of like a corpse or something.
Well, no, I remember what happened.
Yeah?
So basically, like, he tells his wife and kids that he's going away, like, on a business trip, but in reality, he's actually...
Picking up his mistress, right?
Picking up his mistress and leaving with her to a different city, town, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they crash on the car, and he comes back as a corpse a few years later.
Ah, yes.
But then he wakes up, and it apparently was all a dream, because he was asleep in the car, and his girlfriend was driving, and his mistress was driving it, and then they actually crash.
Ah, yes.
So basically kind of like a looping thought.
Kind of like a loop.
Yeah.
It makes Christopher Nolan look like he's not trying, almost, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about this one. I felt it was a bit weak because we don't really have anyone we can really latch to in this one. The husband's a dick because he's leaving his family. The mistress is kind of just there. She's not really developed that much.
Yeah, like, what's their motivation is because he's...
A cheater that he deserves to be constantly punished.
Yeah, I just don't understand.
Although that's the thing with these comics, the motif was to punish bad people in a way. And this is a clear example. And now, let's move on to the next one, Poetic Justice. Or as it's sometimes referred to, well, actually it's not referred to, but it was taken from the idea called the Haunt of Fear. Now, here's a story about these two very snobbish, posh kind of people.
Yeah.
And they live in a really rich neighborhood, but there's one neighbor that they can't stand. The garbage man.
Yeah. Was actually a real sweetheart.
No, he just wants to hang out with the kids. He wants to give gifts to the world, especially to the children.
Yeah, he takes the trash that he finds, reuses them to make newer toys, and also to like take care of dogs.
But the posh neighbors don't like the idea of this very low class, sort of literal trash picker in their neighborhood. So they pick on him. They isolate him until he eventually commits suicide.
Which is really, really dastardly.
And then he comes back and rips out their hearts. Yes, poetic justice in my term. Now this one I really like because a lot of films sometimes have to rely on a personal character that you can latch onto. And in my opinion, they've had a really good casting choice when they got Peter Cushing to play the character.
Which character again?
The Trash Man.
Right.
Now this is interesting because most people know Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin from Star Wars. But for me, he'll always be Abraham Van Helsing from those Hammer horror versions of Dracula.
Right.
And Peter Cushing comes off as a nice, friendly man, and he's got a lot of charisma.
I like that part where like he uses the Ouija board to talk to his deceased wife.
You kind of get the feeling that he's lonely and sad that his wife is not with him.
And she really tries to put out the message that someone wants him dead and that he should have been more careful.
But he doesn't know what to do because he's innocent in a way.
Yeah.
Or naive.
I'd say more innocent. He's not. I don't know if he's really naive, because he must have some idea about who would hate him.
Sort of, in a way, yes. But in the end, it doesn't matter because he ripped out their heart pretty much.
Yeah.
Call him all style. Yes.
And puts it in a bloody Valentine's box.
Well, to be fair, that's poetic justice.
Yeah.
Goes with the title.
Alright then.
Now, let's get to Wish You Were Here, or some people might know it, The Tale of the Monkey's Paw.
That is good.
That's a very classic story that's been used in a lot of those comic books now.
Yeah,
In fact, I don't think we need to really sum up the tale because it sums up itself in a way. There's a rich dude, he's having trouble financially, finds a monkey paw, makes a few wishes, they all go wrong. Like, this is one I actually kind of found a bit infuriating because the people that make these wishes are so stupid a lot of the time.
Yeah, and the guy who ends up, like, dead,
Yeah.
he really deserved, like, his death, because if you watch carefully, like, before, like, they get the monkey's paw,
Yeah.
or they use the monkey's paw,
You get the feeling that he's
you
a
got
bit
the
of
feeling like he's a bit of a
slime.
selfish prick.
a bit of a slime ball, right?
And besides, like, his companies, they might have failed, but they were for, in my mind, a really justified fail, because
He couldn't handle.
he couldn't handle it, and he was basically, like, stealing people's money.
Like any good company should.
Anyways.
But then his wife has to cox it all up by asking him to bring back his body, bring him back to life. But his body's filled up with this shit, and she accidentally made him immortal, I think.
I think it was, his body was filled with something that they used down at morgues.
Like asbestos or something.
No, I think it was some embalming oil.
Embalming oil, yeah.
Which, in reality, if a person comes back from the dead,
That would
would
be real
boil
pain.
your blood.
It would boil his blood, but she wished him to be immortal, and now he's got to suffer for the rest of his life.
Well, for eternity, basically.
Oh man, that's just so bad. But that's the result of being stupid, pretty much.
And not being specific about what you ask for.
You gotta be specific. It's the way of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But now, let's talk about blind alleys.
Right.
This one's actually kind of interesting. It kind of reminds me of sort of like that Don't Breathe movie that came out.
Right.
The one where those criminals are trying to rob this old blind veteran guy, but it turns out that, well, he's Stephen tonight and he's going to kick their asses now.
Yeah.
But now in this case, it's kind of the other way around. The blind people are getting revenge on someone.
Yeah.
And they picked a perfect antagonist. This guy is a real jerk, pretty much.
He's such an asshole, and in my mind, he should not have been given that job.
Well, here's the thing. He's supposed to represent that stiff upper class kind of British thing that was popular at the time.
Yeah, and he thinks he knows better because
he fought in the army
he
and-
fought in the army and that he was able to help people in the army. But that's the thing.
You're not in the army.
You're not in the army. These are just regular people.
And of course, it doesn't help that one of the blind people is played by Patrick McGee of all people,
Right.
who played also the old man from A Clockwork Orange. Oh man, Patrick McGee's my favorite. He's kind of got that old grumpy Irishman thing that you love about him. And in this one, I love the way that they kind of torture him with how they feel, kind of like trapped in around these sharp objects and shit like that.
Yeah.
And getting eaten by his own dog, good enough also.
Yeah, they literally starve his dog.
All they just need now is somebody to go over a nursing home saying,
Hello there. You don't know who I am, but I know you. I want to play a game.
but let's get to the stories now.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start off with the first one called Midnight Mess.
Midnight Mass, right?
We get this brother character trying to find his sister who ran away, and it turns out that their father or mother died,
I think it was the father who died.
and he left her all this inheritance to their will, and
Right.
he's there to make sure she gets none of it by
Basically
stabbing her to death, yeah.
Yeah.
But then we get the faint thing that the town is wrong somehow,
Yeah. Because
and,
everybody acts all scared when the sun goes down.
and their only restaurant just so happens to serve only liquid stuff, tomato juice.
No, like it serves like regular food, but only during the day hours. At night is when they only serve liquids.
And, well, spoiler alert, guys, it's vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's vampires. And is it me, or did this story take did this story maybe inspire 30 Days of Night? A town surrounded by vampires? Sounds familiar?
Yeah, but these vampires only came out at night. Like like at nighttime, it's a completely
Yeah, so did the ones
different
in 30 Days of
society.
Night, yeah.
No, it's not like that.
Like a mirror society, like
Yeah.
night society changes kind of thing.
Yeah, and at the end of it, spoiler alert, the sister just happened to be one.
Yeah, she gets the inheritance, and she gets to suck the life out of her brother. Win-win. Besides that, let's get on to the next one, the neat job.
Right.
This is where we get this obsessive guy who likes everything tidy, organized, and everything,
Yeah.
and his trophy wife is nothing like him at
Yeah.
all. Like, you kind of feel bad for the girl because she has to live up to this guy's expectations of her, and she can't.
I know, and I feel so bad. But my question is, why the hell didn't she just leave him after all that mess?
Because she's a trophy wife, and he's her sugar daddy. I don't know, it's complicated. And you know it's complicated when he says, why can't you do anything right? Why can't you do anything right? Why can't you do anything right? To the point where she
Can't you keep it neatly?
can't keep it near somewhere. And she chops him up and puts him into jars. Like, you took the time to chop off each body part individually and stuff them into jars.
And like different like organs and stuff, and they're all labeled.
Dude, even Hannibal Lecter would go, dude, I'm even not that obsessed about that stuff.
Like, I would have just gone like, well, fuck you, I'm out.
You would think so, but it's a horror movie. It's got to have a gory twist.
Yeah.
Okay, now that that's dealt with, let's get on to the next one. This trick will kill you. The
That
one set in Egypt. Now this is interesting because I think it's a kind of a commentary on British colonialism, actually, where
Yeah.
these British colonialists would move into these new strange lands, take away all the stuff, and then take away anything from the lands they conquered and sort of culturally appropriate into their own, pretty much.
Exactly.
And to the point where, well, these people get revenge by having it in and literally kill them, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I'm pretty sure like most of this was filmed in England, I'm surprised how they actually made the set look like India, actually.
Yeah, I actually like this one, even though yes, it is a bit
What would you say? Bland?
a little,
Mm.
and it's kind of kind of obvious how it would kind of end up, right?
Yeah, a bit obvious, yes.
But I still like it because the guy who plays like the husband character is like a Bond villain.
Oh yeah, right. He played, what did he play again?
He was in The Spy Who Loved Me.
Oh my god, yeah, it's the guy who played, that Swiss fella. I can't remember his name, but yeah.
I think it was
Strasbourg, or Stromberg?
Stromberg.
Stromberg, yeah, Stormberg, it's Stormberg, guys. And who knows, maybe he got tired of hunting James Bond, now wants to learn Indian mysticism. Who knows? But then after that, we'll have Bargain in Death.
Bargain in Death,
Now this is this guy who gets buried alive for an insurance reason, pretty much thing, right?
yeah.
Unfortunately, as you can imagine, everything goes horribly wrong, pretty much.
Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Like, the guy jumps out gasping with air because the wrong guys dug him up, and, well, they accidentally kill him, pretty much.
Yeah, so he stays dead, and his partner, who was supposed to
Collect the insurance.
collect the insurance and dig him back up,
Was
gonna.
late.
No, he wasn't late. He was gonna leave him there to die. Well, he took the insurance money all for himself, but fortunately, the car crashed and he died too.
Seems a bit elaborate, don't you think?
Well, what do you expect from something like this?
It's kind of contrived a bit, but if it's entertaining, why not?
I just feel bad for like the students who have to like dig up a body for.
Well, they're digging up things for their studies and science and all that. And
Because they're medical students and they need to understand like the human anatomy for their like college test.
Now, where can you go to rent a body at this time of night?
Well, unfortunately they couldn't because I don't think they could afford to do so. So they literally had to
dig him up.
dig somebody up to do an autopsy on.
Maybe they should have gone to Corpses Are Us or something like that. Stiffs Are Us, come on out.
That sounds like a porno.
We got big stiffs, little stiffs. We got stiffs of all ages right here.
Just stop.
I've got stiffs right at the wazoo.
Tom, you're making too many porn jokes here.
Hey, it's this job that does it to you. Next, let's get on to the next one,
Yeah.
Drawn and Quartered.
Yes.
This one, I think most people know the most because it has a really big name actor in the main role.
For God's sakes,
It's Tom Baker.
It's Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's Tom Baker, the Fifth Doctor, y'all. Yeah, I have to admit, I love Tom Baker's beard in this one. It looks like a giant, big old orange bush on his face, pretty much.
He literally looks like if
A leprechaun was tall.
I was either gonna say a leprechaun who was tall, and if he was that painter, you know? You know what I'm talking about?
The painter, like, the one that cut off his ear, right?
No, not Van Gogh. I'm not talking about Van Gogh. I'm talking about you know, like Deadpool referenced him. Family
Ah,
Matters.
yes, Bob Ross.
Like if Bob Ross went psycho killer.
And if he was British.
Yeah.
Just give him a scarf and we'll be right as rain. Now this is interesting because it kind of deals with a lot of criticism that artists sometimes get. That sometimes an artist can't handle criticism and they have to lash out at those that try to give it to them, pretty much.
Well, I think it's more of the fact that
They
these people who he trusted with his artwork completely like disowned him and sold his art behind his back for more profit.
Yeah.
And they didn't give him any credit to his name.
Yeah, but he's not a good guy either because he has to man the hell up and admit that he was wrong. But instead, he just takes out his violence and rage out on him.
Oh no.
Yes, he does. He has the painting. He literally cuts a guy's hand off with one of his paintings.
True, what he's doing is wrong, but
Then again, nobody is really a saint in this thing, pretty much.
yeah, pretty much.
Exactly.
But-
And
Yeah, I would say this is probably one of the more interesting ways to kill somebody I've ever seen.
death by painting.
Well, like, I've seen it done, like, with, like, voodoo dolls and stuff like that, but...
Why do you think this film takes place in Haiti?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does at the beginning part.
The beginning part, yes, but then the rest of it...
Well, it's not like the whole freaking thing takes place in Haiti. They couldn't have the budget for that.
I don't know, I'm just saying.
In fact, I think it was actually filmed in the Barbados instead.
Yeah.
If I'm not terribly mistaken. I probably am, but you never know.
Oh boy, but the way he dies, just, like, off screen, but it shows, like, his painted image, like, deformed. It's like, oh god.
Yeah, the picture Dorian Gray called, they want their concept back. So, there we have it. And, of course, both these films actually end kind of the same way in a way.
True.
All these people are gathered together and they're, I think it's implied they get sent to hell or something like that.
Well, in the first one, Tales from the Crypt, it's implied that there's, like, all the stories that they each told already happened and they're all dead.
So it's kind of like a prediction of the future.
Yeah, and they're sent to hell.
But then
But in Vault of Horrors,
it's already happened to them and they're sort of like in a purgatory or something.
they're kind of in a purgatory, but when they open up the door, it shows that yes, they truly already have died, and that those were just memories and not dreams, and that they just go to their graves to rest.
So what did we learn from these films overall? Sort of like
A pre-warning, maybe?
pre-warning, but I kind of feel like it's like Britain taking these classic stories that came from America and sort of making it their own in a way, with a British spin pretty much. So that's why I would have to vote that the first one, Tales from the Crypt, would get a, I'm gonna say 6 out of 10 for me, because while it is interesting and I like some of the stories and some of the actors are okay in it, it's okay. It's nothing too special, it's okay.
I think I'd have to give the Tales from the Crypt. Yes, there was some problems from it. And yes, some of the characters were like overacting, and some of the story was a bit cheesy, especially that Santa Claus one.
I was thinking, they've already done it, and it's called Silent Night.
So I would have to give this rating maybe I'd have to do this a 5.6 out of 10.
But now let's get on to Vault of Horror. Now
Right.
this one I actually kind of like a little more because it kind of feels like there's an interesting undertone of dread throughout the entire thing. And I like the characters a little bit better because the other ones, while they weren't perfect or anything, they were still assholes. These
Yeah.
characters have, well, they are assholes too, but at least they got a little more charm to them. Especially Tom Baker. Like, come on. To my Whovian fans out there, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I have to give this one a 7 out of 10 right here.
For the Vault of Horror, I'd say that I like this film a lot more because the stories in them were more,
Interesting to say.
yes, because I was about to say in depth, but I wouldn't say that because they're kind of just kind of to the point.
They're to the point, they know what they want.
And the characters I did find a lot more interesting. Yes, they are dastardly evil guys, but they are a lot more engaging to watch.
And the ending also, where that one guy gives that big monologue, it kind of wraps things up very nicely, you could say.
Oh yeah, that was beautiful. I loved that part.
So
So I would have to give this actually like
an 8, alright.
because yeah, even though yes, some of the stuff is, it's still pretty good enough to watch, and I would watch this over and over again.
Yeah, probably.
There
Okay,
you have it,
guys.
folks.
That's these two classic British spins on the Tales from the Crypt stories in a way. Well, for the most part.
Yeah.
So, we're off, and thank you for watching our stuff, and please feel free to watch more and comment. See you later, guys. Cheerio.
Bye.
So I hope you enjoyed that double fister of Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror. Needless to say, I didn't think it was too scary, but to each their own.